Unless you've been a legitimate caveman or maybe an Amish person, there's no way that you haven't heard about the dark allegations against Diddy, Puff Daddy, Brother Love, or whatever freakazoid name that he's going by.
I love this drink. I like when you like this, Daddy. Daddy, I like when you scrambling and scraping. I like that.
It honestly would have been wild to picture the crumbling empire just a couple months ago, but with major corporate partners fleeing in droves away from Diddy's investments, it seems that there might be a time in the near future where he won't be able to wipe the blood off his hands from his past. A true rags to riches story turned into a nightmare when all hell broke loose for Diddy just a couple weeks ago when Cassie filed a $30 million lawsuit against Diddy alleging abuse, human trafficking, and other dark secrets. Since then, several more women and men have come out and spoken against him, with even a new lawsuit being introduced just 2 days ago, accusing Diddy of raping an underage woman and forcibly drugging her. The crazy thing is, she even had photos and everything to back up her allegations. Even wild allegations from his former colleagues stating that he was really pulling a Rick Ross and putting Molly in champagne when they didn't even know it.
Like I said, anything that has to do with those sexual assaults, those people have to prove that. But are they capable? Yeah, they're capable. Look at the atmosphere. They in the music industry. They in the music business. They set up those type of, they learn the tricks of the trade. For instance, guys don't put those pills that they get to the girls in the champagne bottles because they popping them in front of them. Most of those girls, especially if they like mixed drinks, you understand? They see the bottles where they open them and they trying to keep their eyes on it because they don't want to get no kind of drugs put in their system. But what they don't understand is in the orange juice and it's in the cranberry juice. We gotta rewind this back. We used to go to when we go to the club, we used to have these bottles, right? And on this bottle, they be regular Moet bottles. On them bottles right there, they been had something to make the girls be real slippery and all of this kind of stuff. So when you get up, they be like, don't touch them bottles right there and only drink them bottles right there.
It has many people believing that Diddy's time as a hip-hop mogul might be ending. It's a crazy thought, but what if I told you that Diddy settling out of court, similar to the Cassie situation, is actually the best case scenario? Because Diddy has left a trail of dead people in his past, from his ex-wife and her associates, to people who try to speak out, to even Biggie, members of Death Row, and Tupac. It seems that everyone that comes into contact with Diddy ends up dead. Many felt that he would beat these allegations, time and time again, the same way that he has been. But it seems that now, more than ever, the world is waking up, man. So we have to get into the bodies that built Diddy's empire and how he caught them and was able to continue his reign to where he is today. But before we do, man, I'm gonna need you to do something for me. Like, comment, subscribe. We're gonna run in this video, man. Make sure y'all check out the merch link in the description at staysafeworld.com and hit that notification bell so whenever I post, y'all are tuned in right away, man. Let's get into this. The Rise of Sean John Combs, Chapter 1. Before we get into the bodies that Diddy caught in order to build his empire, we need to get into his past, better understand how we even got to this point in the first place. And you'll be surprised how dark his past is growing up in Harlem, and it definitely shaped his mindset today from the jump. Brother Love, aka Sean John Combs, was born in Harlem, New York on November 4th, 1969. He was born to his mother Janice Combs, who was a runway model and teacher's assistant, and his father Melvin Earl Combs, who was allegedly tied in with Frank Lucas, aka American mob boss responsible for the American Gangster movie with Denzel Washington. At an early age, Diddy was exposed to extreme violence when in 1972, his father was shot and killed for allegedly being a snitch in the organization. It's definitely safe to say that the witnessing of this type of brutality at a young age would shape anyone into being mentally messed up for the rest of their lives, especially when they internalize and normalize these types of occurrences. As time went on, Diddy began to focus on pursuing his lifelong dream of becoming a music industry mogul. He began interning for Andre Harold at Uptown Records, and during this internship, he got a name for throwing some crazy wild parties that oftentimes got extremely over capacity. Think Astroworld, but in the 90s. Younger people saw this as being lit, But tragedy soon struck, and Diddy caught his first bodies with his complete disregard of human life. On December 28th, 1991, Diddy and hip-hop rapper Heavy D organized an AIDS fundraiser basketball game at the New York City College. Outside the event, crowds were able to break at least one glass door leading into the gymnasium lobby. The crowd then rushed the lobby and down a short staircase that led to the gym. However, a set of doors at the bottom of the gym opened inward into the lobby, not outward into the gymnasium, and 9 people were crushed to death at the bottom of the staircase, while 29 others were injured, the youngest being 15 Jamal Rainey from Harlem, multiple other teens from 17, 19, people who were 20, 24, 26 lost their life that day. But no criminal charges were ever filed following the incident, although multiple wrong death and personal injury lawsuits were filed. It's actually crazy because one of the most reoccurring figures in this story and the life of Diddy, bodyguard Gene Deal, was actually at this event, and he said he tried to warn Diddy about the crowds being too large, but Diddy said don't worry about it, it's all under control.
They don't do a boxing one outside and get these kids off the door, somebody gonna die tonight. He said, Gene, don't worry about that.
As you can obviously guess, it wasn't under control because 9 people died, the youngest being 15 years old. Apparently after all these people died, Diddy continued business as usual and was counting up his blood money right during the incident and seemed unfazed. This was just the start of Diddy's murderous rampage, but it seems that his lack of regard of human life most likely was due to the fact that he saw his father killed at an early age. However, you will not even believe how his bodies continued to drop throughout his life after this point, which leads us to the next crazy thing in rap history that y'all probably already know that he had his hands all over: the West Coast versus East Coast beef. In 1993, Diddy founded Bad Boy Records and signed his first artist, Christopher Wallace, aka Biggie Smalls, aka Notorious B.I.G. At the same time, Biggie and Tupac had gained a close friendship due to the fact that they were both top rappers at the time, you know, and we're at a lot of the same places. However, in 1994, things all took a turn for the absolute worst with the infamous Quad Studios robbery / shooting that left Tupac hospitalized. Tupac believed that Diddy and Biggie were the ones that set him up. Part of the reason why he thought this was the case that Diddy's apparent reaction when all this went down. Apparently when everyone else scrambled and called the police, and the police came and took statements while everyone else was surprised in a crazed frenzy like Biggie, it seemed that Diddy was cool, calm, collected about all this. Unfortunately, this incident sparked the infamous West Coast East Coast war. There was already mounting tension, but this just completely broke the floodgates. There are so many stories of people within the path of Diddy that died in mysterious cases. Many times though, people seem to forget about the ones that were the most blatant deaths. The death of Biggie and Tupac, which had Diddy's fingerprints all over them. However, many people actually don't even realize that there was one mysterious death that went down that started the bloodshed in that beef. The death of Jake Robles, a close friend and bodyguard of Suge Knight, when things took a turn one night in 1995, when both Death Row and members of Bad Boy were celebrating musician Jermaine Dupri's birthday at the Platinum City Club, when, as then Fulton County Sheriff Deputy Chris Howard told police, an argument broke out between members of Bad Boy and Death Row Records. Howard said he escorted Combs and his guests outside to leave the club and thought that the coast was clear to allow Suge and his entourage to leave. But as Howard told the Los Angeles Times, Knight's partner was just about to get into the limo when all of a sudden Puffy's guys came from around the corner, and one of them had a gun. Howard said he chased the man who handed the gun to another person who shot Jack Robles 2 or 3 times. According to the Times, the person then jumped into a car carrying Combs' associates. Robles died weeks later at an Atlanta hospital. Combs has denied involvement in the shooting, which Knight reportedly held him responsible for. Following this incident, it was pretty much on site for Suge Knight, which moves to the next topic: the murder that shocked the world, the enemy of my enemy. With pressure rising against Diddy after the shooting, it seemed that he had nowhere else to turn but to the ops of his biggest ops. You know, the age-old slogan, the enemy of your enemy is your friend. Diddy decided enough was enough when dealing with Suge and decided to enlist the help of Southside Crips top OG Kingpin Keefe D for protection. Eventually, this need for protection allegedly turned into offering $1 million of bounty on the heads of Suge Knight and Tupac.
Well, in fact, you know, there was the rumor that after Pac got killed, Puffy gave Zip $1 million that was supposed to be handed over, and Zip ended up keeping it. And I remember when I interviewed TK Kirkland, who was actually roommates with Zip at one point. They were that close. He actually said, yeah.
The fans said that too.
Keefe D had been adamant that Diddy was serious about this and was legitimately spoken on it multiple times. Many police officers, like investigator Greg Kading, has stated though that it is unlikely with the time that has passed that Diddy will be charged for this agreement without the burden of substantial proof. But it all came to a head on September 7th, 1994, when members of the Southside Crips, including Keefe D and his nephew Orlando Anderson, went to the Tyson fight in Las Vegas for a regular guys trip they would go on. Somewhere around the end of the fight, Orlando was standing in the lobby allegedly wearing a Death Row chain that he apparently stole from another Death Row artist at the Lakewood Mall. When members of Death Row saw him and began jumping him in the lobby and left, Tupac was the one that approached him first and did the first blows. Keefe D stated that they knew that there was an after party at Suge Knight's club on the Vegas Strip, so they decided to roll out as a crew and go find Tupac for revenge. At that same time, one of the associates of the Southside Crips, Zip, who is Diddy's fixer, told Keefe D this could be a perfect time to handle what we need to do. You know, the agreement that Diddy was talking about. Shortly after this, while driving on the strip looking for the caravan of cars, they spotted Tupac when a car with women was yelling his name. They pulled up alongside his BMW and aired it out. Apparently, shortly after this shooting, Diddy called Keefe D and uttered the words, "Was that us?" Apparently, the money was sent but intercepted by Zip, who apparently pocketed the $1 million and spent it on a nightclub, according to Keefe D. Many people are familiar about this, and there's a lot of, conspiracy theories, but is it really a conspiracy theory if he was conspiring to kill Tupac? But you're not going to believe the next and craziest death. Diddy had his hands, fingerprints, and bobs all over, man. The murder of Biggie Smalls. Many fans believe that Diddy even had an involvement in Biggie's death. Although it might not have been intentional, Diddy knew the risk of going to the West Coast at the height of the beef still ongoing. Bodyguard Gene Deal even states that at one point, Diddy stated that he doesn't care who has to die as long as he survives, even if it's Suge Knight, Tupac, or even Biggie. But he's gonna get out of this. And apparently, that's exactly what happened. On the night of March 8th, 1997, Biggie and Diddy decided to go to the Peterson Automotive Museum for Vibe Magazine after party on Wilshire Boulevard in Los Angeles, California. Apparently there was a lot of gang members in there from Diddy's allies, the Southside Crips, along with many Bloods like DJ Quick and a bunch of other people who were definitely more loyal to the Suge Knight crowd or allied with him in some way. Apparently, Keefe D said that he went up to Diddy and asked if he needed help with security, but Diddy said he was good and that the feds were on his case over the whole Tupac thing, so he needed to have legit security and not gang members, especially not gang members who were arrested shortly after the Tupac death for having some type of involvement, but the charges just couldn't stick. The party was shut down to, overcrowding because everyone was pulling up at the same time, and Biggie left with his group in a caravan of SUVs. Not to mention, Biggie had just gotten into an accident just a couple months before and couldn't even walk properly. He was in a wheelchair. Diddy was in a front car with his security detail, including Gene Deal, who apparently, as they were getting into the cars, saw some suspicious activity and told the driver of Diddy's car to take the red light, speed, and don't stop. While this was all happening, Diddy was apparently geeked out of his mind, basically tweaking non-stop. Unfortunately, Biggie didn't have security like that in his car that was really paying attention, because Gene Deal was not an overall security, he was just for Diddy, but he was looking out for everyone's best interest. But their car stopped at the light and was gunned down when an unidentified gunman in a black Chevy Impala sprayed it up. Many felt that Diddy was at fault, especially people familiar with the situation like Gene Deal, who said that Diddy pretty much had an utter disregard for Biggie's life. Although he might not have been the person who pulled the trigger, ultimately the responsibility as his manager and label owner definitely lies on him. On top of the fact that Diddy was seen as the person who was egging Biggie Smalls to go to LA, even though tensions were extremely high with the ongoing East Coast West Coast beef, with Tupac getting shot just 6 months before. Crazy thing about it too, Biggie's mom was on record saying many times that he should have never trusted Sean. She felt that there was something off about him in general, even before he died. But you're not gonna believe the mysterious deaths, disappearance, and even comas that happened next. The mysterious deaths that shocked the world. If you've been following Diddy, following the events that happened to Biggie, then you probably know what happened next. He encouraged members of Bad Boy not to cooperate with the Biggie investigation, which had people looking at him sideways with him, and he continued to say that he had no idea why someone would want to take Biggie out. He went on with his life. However, his trail of destruction continued at the same time. High-profile incidents basically occurred, like the nightclub shooting where he was involved with J-Lo, that basically resulted in rapper Shine getting 10 years in jail and deported from the United States after he convinced a large amount of people to testify against Shine, even though Diddy was the one caught with the stolen firearm. Fortunately, nobody died from this incident. However, shortly before this incident is where Diddy met his supposed love of his life and model/actress Kim Porter. Only issue being he was a serial cheater and left her for Jennifer Lopez. However, when J-Lo was caught up and arrested with him for the whole gun incident, she immediately left his ass and never looked back. Kim Porter, though, made the fatal mistake and despite everything, decided to take Diddy back. Before we get into this next part though, it's probably important to know that Kim Porter has kids from a prior relationship with hip-hop artist A.B. Shore. This is a very important detail when we talk about this. We're going to talk about that later though. Apparently, during the course of their tumultuous relationship, Diddy treated Kim very similar to how he ended up treating Cassie. Needless to say, the relationship didn't stand the test of time, but apparently they were on somewhat civil terms and had several kids together. They decided to just co-parent their children after Kim Porter eventually left him and Diddy moved on to Cassie. However, Kim was a close member in Diddy's label, so she had access to a lot of the top secret information about him. Reportedly, she was working on a tell-all book with multiple sources corroborating that this was true, such as Jaguar, who was a music manager at the time, and even stated that she knew Kim was working on a tell-all book, talking about the abuse and everything she went through being with Diddy for the better part of a decade. However, everything changed on November 15, 2018, when she was found dead in her home from a mysterious lung illness. Apparently, an initial coroner's report said that she had some type of toxins in her body, but a second coroner report was used and said that she had died from a lung infection like pneumonia. Her former husband, artist A.B. Shore, who is extremely adamant that he just saw her 2 days before and she was fully recovered because she was apparently sick a couple days before, but at that time had even pulled up to the world premiere for her son Quincy's movie. He even released a crazy emotional Instagram message stating that he felt she was murdered and there needs to be an investigation and you're never gonna believe what happened to him. He ended up in a mysterious coma and almost didn't come out with his life. It's wild, man. But it seems like everyone that is around Diddy ends up being a victim. The ones who survive, maybe they go to jail and change their lives, convert to a new religion or something, but they get out with their lives. And it's a crazy scenario because all the people who really spoke out against him are dead. The only people that are out right now are the ones that kept their mouth closed. Recently, Diddy offered to give everyone that he had ever signed their publishing back. In order to get it back though, he had to make sure that they signed an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement, so they couldn't talk about anything that went down in the sphere of Bad Boy Entertainment or Diddy, man. That's insane. Because now, the people who are left over that needed that bag because Diddy was busy screwing them out of their money for the longest period of time can't even talk because they have an NDA and will get sued by Diddy, man. It's a crazy, evil, genius thing to do, but it's only not gonna last, man. I'm telling you, it's not gonna last because the floodgates are opening. More and more people are waking up. More and more people are seeing what's going on, man. It's insanity. It really is. But at the end of the day, what can you really expect, man? It's sad. But we knew that there was something off about Diddy, from his freak offs to the way that he treated people around him to his utter disregard for life in general. I think that he might be a sociopath, a psychopath, or just deeply affected by seeing his father die in front of him, and it completely turned him into not caring about his fellow man or woman, into abusing black queens and killing off the world's biggest rappers. Man, let me know in the comments what y'all think about this. Do you think that Diddy is behind all this or this is all just a crazy coincidence that lined up and he was just a part of it? Because if you look at my point of view, I really believe that there's no such thing as a coincidence. And many might believe the same. Let me know in the comments what y'all think, man. I'm gonna need y'all to like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Remember, stay safe, World Gang, forever. I love y'all. We're gonna keep y'all tapped in. December about to be a crazy month, man. I'm telling you, I'm going hard with this content. We dropping full-length documentaries. We dropping everything. Make sure you hit that Instagram at staysafe.world on IG, man. Until next time, gang. Peace.